Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to the FMCC's World FM Day celebration. This is our wrap-up and our closing session. We want to thank you for attending, and hopefully you've been able to attend some of our great sessions today. And I do want to let everyone know that they have been muted for audio quality and that this webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions during this webinar, please type them into the question box on your control panel, and we'll go over them during the Q&A portion of this at the end of the webinar. The FMCC does like to let everyone know, as part of the IFMA family, we are a council, one of many, and these are other councils that exist within IFMA. And then we also have communities that are highlighted in blue, and these communities cut across different industries, so they're not industry specific. They're the items and areas that people deal with across the board in facility management, such as sustainability, information technology, and workplace design. And then who are we as the FMCC? We just like to let everyone know what our vision and mission is. Here we are to serve the FM community. And how can the FMCC help? The FMCC has lots to offer the FM community, such as Ask the Expert, Find a Consultant, Locate a Speaker, and online educational resources. And you may find more information at fmcc.ifma.org. And also, we have a great new feature as far as finding a consultant on the IFMA Engage platform, which is engage.ifma.org. We now have the FM Consultants Directory. So if you are looking for a consultant to help you, you can simply search that directory for a consultant in your area. As always, we like to thank our sponsors, ISS and Opposite Security Consulting. And we have great breaking news that has just been happening in the last couple of days as far as ISO standards. ISO Technical Committee 267 for Facility Management is developing international standards to bring together the FM community worldwide to speak one language. To date, there are 3 published standards and a technical report, and this is a very big deal, especially with the publication of ISO 41001, which provides a roadmap for aligning FM to the core business strategic requirements, and will, for the first time, enable organizations worldwide to review and recognize those that practice and deliver a true facility management support service. To learn more about ISO 4100, you can go to committee.iso.org/home, TC267, or you can contact Laverne Deckert directly at lcdeckert@gmail.com. At this time, it's my pleasure to turn it over to our moderator for this morning's session, Daniel Goldsmith. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Joshua, and good morning to each of you who are attending and participating in our FM Day recognition. I certainly applaud the effort that you present daily to our profession. It's a great profession, and I just feel that it's appropriate to acknowledge the contributions that we make individually as well as a corporate. So just a little information about myself. I am a management consultant, and also work extensively in facility management in the federal space. And as such, I have certainly come aware and am very familiar with some of the challenges of operating facilities, whether they're brand new facilities that are carrying a LEED certification, or if they are the more historic buildings, all of which have their very unique challenges and characteristics. But what it does do for us as facility managers is that it certainly speaks to the depth and the breadth of our skills and our passion as practitioners. So with respect to being consultants, that uniquely provides us an opportunity to offer solutions and services that not only enhance value, but certainly elevate our brand as a community of practice. So I asked Joshua, if you don't mind, if you can go to the slide that denotes sustainability. Okay, so what I'll invite your attention to is the slide that talks about sustainability. And in many circles, that's often referred to as a triple bottom line. But I want to really hone in on sustainability as it relates to facility management. Now, as you know, we have focused our time this week on sustainability and facility management practices. So Josh, if you could just advance the next slide, please, sir. So we've had topics that have spoken to FM technology and sustainability and linkages as it relates to FM technology and the sustainable implications that it carries. And because we are an international organization, which means we have representation across various countries around the world, we've looked at FM technology and sustainability from unique countries. So we had a presentation that was presented that spoke specifically to the continent of Africa. And we've also had a presentation that spoke to the perspective of South America. Now, I want to just highlight, these are not minor ancillary issues. It's so important to not only just highlight facility management and the practice that we, in which we engage, but certainly to look at that cultural perspective. And there is something so unique and rich about the diversity of cultures on our globe and planet, but also the diversity of that cultural representation in our organization. And so we heard this week about what the different dimensions and applications are around facility management, technology, and sustainability across various countries and their respective areas of practice. Joshua, could you advance to the next slide, please? And so as we looked at these different applications of facility management, technology, and sustainability across various global dimensions, we certainly had to look at things that drive that whole technology discussion and dimension of considerations. And that's where the discussion and focal point centered around information technology. And why is that so critical? And I'm sure we'll unpack that as we continue our conversation this morning. But IT has generally been the engine that moves information, which is so critical to us as practitioners among our respective communities of practices, to our stakeholders, to our building owners, those with whom we partner to ensure high value to these buildings, to those with whom we partner in terms of collaborators like our vendors or our subcontractors and the like. Information is really key. And so we had a discussion that really highlighted the significance of information technology and facility management over this past week. David, could you please advance the slide to the next slide, please, sir? So this really does bring a very application-driven focus and consideration around technology, facility management, sustainability. And I have put this slide in our discussion context to kind of serve as a catalyst to tie everything together. And that is acumen. Because the acumen allows us to connect the various touch points around sustainability, whatever that may look like, with respect to the technology, whatever that may very well look like, and the facility management practice, which is certainly varied across numerous environments by which we engage. And so when we think about the acumen, then we are beginning to really shift the focus from the specific disciplines and tying them together in terms of how does what we have learned in this particular discussion or this week help us practically in our respective workspaces. What does that look like in terms of our collaboration? What does it look like in terms of satisfying our customer? What does it look like in terms of engaging our employees, coaching them and developing them and ensuring that they have that awareness and familiarity and robust of skill and application that not only delivers high value to our building community in terms of the owners, the investors, and the like, but what does it do for us as a practitioner and our branding? What does it say about our capacity? What does it say about our character? So these are just some of the highlights that I want to emphasize in our discussion. David, Joshua, would you be so kind to advance the slide to the next slide, please, sir? So this really brings us up to our discussion. I really would love to get your insights specifically with respect to the facility management, technology, sustainability, but the application that it has on our stakeholders in terms of services, value. What about the messaging? What does our service, our skill, our competency say about us, not only as a community of practice, but as practitioners, individual? How can we help shape the discussion around facility management, technology, and sustainability with respect to investment? And so we're not only talking about investing outside of our facility management community, which is what we do, but importantly, as importantly, what are the investments that are to be considered for those who entrust us with their buildings? What type of counsel are we offering? What type of guidance and direction and suggestions, recommendations are we offering them to enhance their value, to enhance their overall state and well-being? And then what about the prioritization? Because every organization has them, every environment has priorities. There are also constraints. How do we shape that discussion around priorities, around constraints, and around those realities that evolve so quickly that require an informed, educated, and competent opinion that comes from a facility management consultant? And then, of course, the data. There's a lot of emphasis and discussion around data. And how do we know which data is important for us to consider? How do we advance that narrative to our building owners or to our community of stakeholders who depend on us for the value and for the service and for the skill? What does that data discussion look like? What type of data are we capturing? When we have our help desk and we have our customer service centers, how are we looking at those transactions? What do those transactions tell us about our complement of services? What do the transactions tell us about our customer and what they need? The time of day in which these services are needed and the sensitivity around these various issues of consideration. So with that said, Joshua, I ask you to just advance. Well, let's just leave the slide where we are to discussion. So with that said, I'd like to open up the discussion to the audience. And I know David Reynolds has some observations that he'd also like to share and present for our consideration. So I'd like to invite David to share his insights with us, please.
I'm on with you, Daniel, and all I have are some quick takeaways. Actually, I have a bundle of them, but we'll just distribute a few here. First of all, from Illumide and Andre, that whatever we do, be strongly principled, and that we reflect the principles in the core business. In fact, Goran Milanov reminds us, keep the core business in sight, no matter what we do, all the time, in our activities, our goals, our objectives, keep the core business in sight, because that's what the C-suite needs us to do. And that's how they relate to us in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And that's strongly reinforced by Meredith Thatcher, and yesterday by Ryan Penny, also from New Zealand, Meredith from Canada. From the ITC, from the IT Council, I'm sorry, Laura, Jeff, and Ted, think of IT as an asset. Think of your investments, your capital, your investments in training, your use of IT, just the way you think of a chiller plant. It's something that's going to give us cost, it's going to require attention, and it has a lifespan. And that lifespan can be relatively short for a high expense item. Paul Doherty and Dr. Allegrati stressed that yesterday. Said that when you think of IT as an asset, also remember that as a capital project, it's going to have a short term, short ROI, and will probably be replaced or thoroughly overhauled soon. Something that Julian gave us on recording yesterday that Ricardo presented for us, the idea of framing your thoughts as an FM for technology in terms of a service gap, a technology gap, and a cultural gap, always attending to those three when we think about our use of technology and our planning for technology. Finally, from Jessica Bickle and for Jessica Bickle and Graham last night when they finished up the very last of our sessions. It's an exciting time to be an FM. That's about the handful I can offer you, Daniel.
David, thank you so very much. Those are some very poignant and quite profound observations and very powerful takeaways. I'd like to, if at all possible, open the conversation up to the audience and hear what observations they may have derived during this past couple of days of FM discussion and presentation, if at all possible, Joshua.
Hi, it's Marcia from Brazil. I do have some comments. Is that okay if I put my points?
Absolutely, please.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the presentation. I think it summarized very well what we had seen the last days. And I'm thinking about the stakeholders. So the words in transformation.
Marcia,
yes?
Marcia is Ricardo. Let's introduce Marcia. Daniel, Marcia is the RICS representative here in our panel.
Okay.
Marcia is responsible for business development from RICS in Latin America. Okay. And this is important to know who is and who is in. This is our part of our global partnership with RICS and the work to all the jobs that we are working together. Sorry to interrupt, Marcia, but it's important to the people know who you are in the moment.
Oh, thank you so much. I get so excited with your presentation that I just jump in. So sorry for not doing it myself. Thank you, Ricardo. So coming on the stakeholders that you mentioned, so it's very important to see that the world is in a huge transformation. So the way we live, the way we work, the way the families are getting together, the social way that people now connect, and also the education side is completely being transformed. If the FM is more strategic, it's easier for the FM to be able to help the investor to put the money in the right thing And taking into account that we are discussing sustainability, it's very clear that the world have limited resources. So resources more prepared to give advice definitely will help the investors, and also will have all the stakeholders in a good way to prioritize in order to deliver in the good way. And another comment is related to data. Data is something very important, and all the technology is very important, but we need to be very clear that this is all of these are tools for us to take good decisions. The most important asset that we have in this segment and everywhere, it's people. So people well prepared is able to use the best way possible the tool. So I think we as organizations, so RICS, IFMA, giving the possibility, so giving the right tools for people to be prepared to deliver is the best thing that we could do. And always thinking about people, so the most important assets in this world. Thank you very much, Daniel. These are my comments.
Marcia, thank you so very much. And let me just say something here about, the people. And I heartily agree with Marcia and her observations. And Marcia, let me just say I appreciate your passion. The fact that you wanted to just jump right into our discussion is just so gratifying to see. But to go back to the whole sustainability discussion, and this is something that I have shared with clients and other folks within my community of stakeholders. When you deal with sustainability, it always comes down to a triple bottom line. And in business, the bottom line primarily has almost always been about profit. But there are two other components in the triple bottom line calculus. And I have that denoted on my sustainability slide, and that is people. As Marcia so emphatically stated, we can't underestimate the imperative or the significance of the people that we work with, whether there are employees, there are collaborators, our investors, or even a generation of contributors that are coming up behind us now. They all have something of value and worth to offer. As FM consultants, we really have to be mindful of these emerging changes, and as they continue to impact the way we do business. And of course, the third element of this, the triple bottom line, is the environment. And so this is all about how well we craft and identify solutions that capitalize on our natural resources. And I think about renewable energy as one, so you see the windmills, you also see the solar panels. And I think those are just great examples of how we need to be holistically focused on how our solutions can translate to tangible actions to preserve the planet and deliver high value to our stakeholders and our clients. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Marcia.
No, I think that's perfect. I couldn't agree more. I think the tripod that you put together, I think it really summarizes these tangible assets that at the end of the day, that's what are in the table. Yeah, thank you for your comment.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'd like to open up the mic to other attendees and participants in this call.
I would like to talk, Daniel. It's Ricardo. Well, about people, I would like to add one point that in the section number 6 last night, grantier enforcement the needs that we need to create a strong FM team, and to create a strong FM team, we need to be aware what has happened in FM world, what has happened in the the construction buildings, in the all the markets. And why it's very important to share knowledge, training the people, and then have a better team as possible inside the business. This is one part of the Grantier presentation last night that enforced that we this part of these 3 pillars of the sustainability that you, Daniel, told some moments ago. If we don't give give some ways for to training, for to give more knowledge, for not the FM team, and the FM team don't have more expertise in many areas, as you talk to one as to be ready for to take care and to feeling better the new generations that are coming. These new generations is different from the old generations, and then the needs are different, and then we need to be ready for to give value for these new consumers or new inside consumers. This is very important. This is very important.
You know, and, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ricardo.
Yeah, this is one point that I extract from Grantier about the people, the Grantier presentation. Sure, as David told the Julian talking about in other way about behavior, the behavior, and then we can include diversity, the global diversity. What you do in US is a little different, can be a little different that I do in South America, that someone do in Asia, etc. We need to ready for to manage this diversity and the difference, and to this is very important to run the business in the best way, in the best class as possible. Sure, because we need to include the other pillar, the sustainability pillar, as that is the financial, and then we need to run is all this inside inside the financial situation of the place, the company, or that we are included, and then this is that we in my opinion is some keys about the sustainability. As you said, is not exactly environmental. We need to see all the concept of the triple bottom line, and then we need to see this as a whole picture and then work on this. This is very important that that the FM understand, and then I think that with this 7 sections that we make and make yesterday since the beginning, we involve it. I would like to give some information for the people, the audience, that we involve 12 countries indirectly. We have presenters and moderators in 12 countries in these days. We have many places inside the US. We have Bulgaria, we have New Zealand, we have Nigeria, we have Czech Republic, we have Saudi Arabia, we have Spain, Barcelona in this case. We have Brazil, we have Argentina, we have Canada, we have Hong Kong, and we have all these countries. We have all these countries inside our mega section, the World FM Day. Give for us, for the audience, in this moment, alive yesterday, and then in the post event that we will give a place for to see the recorder sections, and then the people that can't participate. And this is very important because, for example, yesterday I received a message that people in US that can't is registration and pull dot resection, but for a fly problems, and then in the airport he can't participate, and he asked about if this is recorded. And then this is important for the post event, for all the audience, all the FM community, that we need to share this knowledge, to take our part for to make a better FM community. We are making this on this post event tools to post the links for all the recorder sessions.
So Ricardo, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but we're getting close to time. I know your discussions are quite relevant, but I know Joshua has indicated that we are coming up at the end of our time together here. So could you possibly just wrap up in the next minute or so, sir?
Okay, go ahead. No problem. Thank you.
All right, Joshua, I'm going to defer back to you so we can stay on schedule with our discussion. Please, sir.
Excellent. Okay. David, is there anything you wanted to say before we wrap it up?
No, let's put a wrap on it.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for attending our closing session for a great World FM Day full of very interesting and fascinating sessions. And they all have been recorded, and they will be distributed at a later date on the FMCC website. So if you missed any of them, and here's a listing of them here, we would love to have you go and view those recordings and share them with anyone that your colleagues, coworkers, and friends that you think would benefit from the information in there. And if you want to be part of the FMCC stack, Ricardo, our friend here on the webinar, would love to have you. Feel free to reach out to him. And on behalf of the entire FMCC board and membership and everyone on the panel, I want to thank everyone for joining us and making it a wonderful and successful World FM Day. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. And I'll wrap it up.